Welcome everybody to Chapter 11, Key Issue 2.5. The production of copper involves a few steps: mining, concentration, smelting, and refining. Mining, concentration, and smelting are great examples of bulk reducing activities that must be planted near their sources of inputs. Refining is the only step that does not need to be located near inputs. The first step in the production of copper is mining the ore itself. Mining in general is bulk reducing. Why? Because the heavy ore extracted from the mines is mostly wasted and unwanted material, known as gangue. These mills grind and crush the ore into fine particles, then mixed with water and chemicals, filtered, then dried. The concentrate of copper is about 25% copper. By the way, these mills are always near the mines because the concentration transforms the bulky/heavy copper ore into a product of much higher value per weight. Now that the copper ore has been concentrated, it now becomes the input for smelters, which allows them to remove more impurities. Smelters create copper matte, 60% copper, blister copper, 97% copper, and anode copper, 99% copper. Again, they are put right beside their main inputs to minimize transportation cost. Purified copper produced by smelters is taken care of at refineries where they produce copper cathodes, about 99.99% pure copper. Most refineries are located next to smelters. Changing distribution of the U.S. steel industry. Within the United States, the distribution of steel production changed several times because of changing inputs. Mid-19th century, southwestern Pennsylvania. Concentrated around Pittsburgh because iron ore and coal were both obtained there. The area no longer has steel mills, but remains a center for administration and research. Late 19th century, Lake Erie. Steel mills were built around here in the Ohio cities of Cleveland, Youngstown, and near Detroit. The shift of location was largely influenced by the discovery of rich iron ore in the Mesabi Range, a series of low mountains in northern Minnesota. This area eventually became the source of virtually all iron ore used in the U.S. steel industry. Early 20th century, southern Lake Michigan. New steel mills at the time were located near the southern end of Lake Michigan in Gary, Chicago, Indiana, and other communities. Main raw materials included to be iron ore and coal. Changes in steel making required more iron in proportion to coal. Thus, steel mills were built closer to the Mesabi Range to minimize the cost of transportation. Mid-20th century, East and West Coasts. Yet again, new U.S. steel mills were located in communities near the East and West Coasts, including Baltimore, Los Angeles, and Trenton, New Jersey. All of these coastal locations partly reflected further changes in transportation costs. Iron ore came from other countries by the numbers, especially Canada and Venezuela. Late 20th century, proximity to markets. Most steel mills in the U.S. closed. Most of the surviving mills were around southern Lake Michigan and along the East Coast. Coastal plants provide steel to large East Coast population centers, and southern Lake Michigan plants are currently located to distribute their products countrywide. Site factors: labor, capital, land, textiles, and apparel. On a global scale, the most important site factor is labor. According to the UN International Labor Organization, around 1/2 billion workers are engaged in industry. China has around 1/4 of the world's manufacturing workers. Labor-intensive industry is an industry in which wages and other compensation paid to employees constitutes a high percentage of expenses. Capital: the funds to establish new factories or expand existing ones. Manufacturers typically borrow capital. For example, the U.S. motor vehicle industry concentrated in Michigan early in the 20th century largely because that region's financial institutions were more willing than Eastern banks to lend money to the industry's pioneers. Suitable land for constructing a factory can be found in many places. Early factories located inside cities because of a combination of situation and site factors, like a large local market, convenient shipping, and a big supply of labor and capital. A site factor that cities have always lacked is abundant land. To get the necessary space in the cities, Early factories were multi-story buildings. A prominent example of industry that generally requires less skilled, low-cost workers would be the production of textiles, woven fabrics, and apparel, clothing. Spinning, weaving, and sewing are all labor-intensive compared to other industries, but the importance of labor varies somewhat among them. The principal natural fiber is cotton. Synthetics now account for 3/4 and natural fibers only 1/4 of world thread production. Spinning is done primarily in low-wage countries. China produces 2/3 of the world's cotton thread. For thousands of years, fabric has been woven or laced together on a loom. For mechanized weaving, labor constitutes a high percentage of the total production cost. Barthélemy Thimonier, a French tailor in 1830, invented the first functional sewing machine. Textiles are assembled into four main types of products: garments, carpets, home products, and industrial items. Developed countries play a larger role in assembly than in spinning and weaving because most of the consumers of finished products are located in developed countries.